An empty dish is like an opportunity, and today's opportunity comes in the form of French onion soup. Guys, this one is a banger, and it's really actually much easier than you would think. You just need a few onions, some stock, and plenty of cheese. Let's get to it. Did you know that when you cook onions, that's when you get the most compliments, it seems like. Oh, that smells amazing. What are you cooking? It's just onions. I feel like there should be a saying that says like, if you want to impress someone, cook them onions. If you want them to fall in love with you, cook them French onion soup. Maybe that's where I've been going wrong all these years. Oh well. Anyway, let's get into it, guys. It's a classic, French onion soup. Let's have a quick look at the kit we need today. It's really straightforward, not much going on. So, a chopping board and a pot is the most important, right? But actually, I'm going to use a frying pan because this is an easy recipe, actually. It's one of those things that like tastes amazing and is actually quite easy to do. But there is some time involved. And today, time is of the essence. I've got a flight to catch and there's a lot to do. Well, there's not lots to do. It just takes a bit of time to get the things done. So one thought I had in order to speed that up, rather than cook the onions in here, if I cook them in a frying pan, then there'll be more surface area and the caramelization will go quicker. Let's see if that works. But we need a pot anyway to put the stock in. What else? Knives. We need to chop up these onions. Now, I know normally I talk about using these child-friendly knives. Guys, some of you, if you're just starting out in the world of cooking, these are brilliant for learning basic knife skills. Unfortunately, when it comes to onions, if I use these and chop a lot of onions, I'm going to be a blubbering mess. You know, it's yes, there are some techniques. I'm going to put these to one side today. Forgive me, I'm going to put them away. This would work. You know, I've used this before on the channel. I just pointed out, it's a vegetable chopper that goes down and spins like that. This would work, but you'll end up with quite fine onions. It will taste the same. It will be okay, but you won't have that long, you know, when you French onion soup, you get the long cheese, you get the long onions. It's a bit of a mess. I'm not going to use that also, so I'm going to put that over there. I am actually going to use a sharp knife. So guys, if you use a sharp knife, you know the drill. You got to be super careful. Make sure there's an adult around and we'll be careful. I'll show you a little bit about that in a short moment. What else do we need? We're going to need a ladle to dish it up, a small oven pan to grill our toast, and a grater for the cheese. Finally, we need some vessels to put it in. So this type of thing is quite good, a nice wide top, because we're going to grill the cheese in there. It's good to have a bit of a lip so that it catches the cheese. Grilled cheese on soup. It sounds amazing, doesn't it? It sounds amazing. So, ingredients. So, the star of the show, onions. We'll need two medium-sized onions. It's about 400 grams, okay? If you want to scale it up, you're talking half an onion per person. What else? We've got a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. We've got half a teaspoon of salt. You might want to go easy on the salt. We'll talk about that in a moment. I've got 1.5 tablespoons of plain flour. I've got freshly made chicken stock, 1 litre, approximately 4 cups. If you didn't see it, I did a video on how to make chicken stock from scratch because it is the backbone of this recipe, to have fresh homemade stock. You can use chicken, you can use beef, you could use half and half. Some recipes call for that. I'm doing sort of a blend of Julia Child and Jacques Pepin. You know, I kind of made the recipe, the quantities are all below. They're easy to follow from metric or US style. It's up to you guys. What else have we got? We've got 100 milliliters of dry white wine. I've got just a quarter a teaspoon of brown sugar there. What's that about? Huh. Finally, for the end, the grilled cheese bit, 1 clove of garlic, half a baguette, and this could be a couple days old, guys. Doesn't have to be fresh. In fact, it's probably better that it's not fresh. And I've got some Gruyere cheese, or this is actually Emmental, which is just another variety that's very similar. It's that French holy cheese, you know the style. Cheddar would not be good for this, I don't think. I mean, it would work. You just change the flavor and you change the consistency. Oh, and some Parmesan, which I've forgotten to bring out. We'll see it later on. Let's get cracking. Let's get cracking. So, I'll pop these down here. First of all, we're going to chop these onions up. So, now I find it's much easier to peel onions if you just chop them in half first. Just want to take the skin off. The other thing to point out, which I've told you guys before, if you hold off as long as possible on cutting that off, you're less likely to have tears. I say that, I can actually sort of slightly feel them coming already. Oh boy. How are we going to chop these onions? There's several ways of chopping onions, but when it comes to doing long bits of onions like that, there's 2 ways. You can either go against the grain, so the grain goes this way like that, or you want to go with the grain. For this one, I'm going to do it with the grain. So let's cut this end off. Hopefully it won't get me going. And then we're just going to cut it like this. So if you put your fingers, you can practice with these other knives. Just be prepared. Tears will ensue. You don't want to have your fingers like that because you could cut them off. So keep the tips of your fingers in. So we're holding the onion like that. Keep the tip of the knife down on the board like that. And then what we're doing is we're doing this action here like that. And that's going to slide in. And you can just practice with this. The more you do it, the quicker you get. When you get to this point, flip it over. That's one way of doing it. Second way is it's more chopping like that. This is a bit harder, to be honest. It's a bit, you gotta really have control of the knife. So try it on something that's a bit softer if you want to practice that. Anyway, I'll leave that for you to practice. Let me just finish these 2. All right, here come the waterworks. Woo! All right, okay, so let's get this on. Okay, and then we're going to put the butter into the pan. That's 1 tablespoon of butter and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Sizzle, bibble, 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 wibble. And then these onions can go straight in there. We're doing them all at once. I want to give those a little stir. I'll try and break them up. Here's another skill that's handy to have. You can practice this too. So you just grab it, you can do it with two hands. You shake it like that, and then shake it, and then bring it back. Shake it, and then bring it back. Takes some practice, but it's quicker than stirring. Okay, we've got those on a sort of quite a high heat, medium high. And now that they're all nicely coated in the butter and oil, I'm going to stick a lid on that. Right, and then we're going to let that sweat with the lid on. It's called sweating the onions. And it's a glass lid like this is handy because you can see what's going on. Sweat the onions for about 10, maybe 15 minutes. We'll keep an eye on them, and you can hear a little bit what's going on as well. Okay guys, it's been about 10 minutes, and as you can see, these onions have turned all like a translucent, and that means they've cooked down. Now, you do want to keep an eye as that happens. Don't go away and just leave them. The process of what's happening here is you're essentially frying and steaming at the same time, and that's cooking the onion. And so you want there to be that moisture in there, otherwise they would just go dark on the edges, and that's not what we want here for the beginning of this caramelization stage. So if that happens, then just add a little bit of water, just like maybe a tablespoon at a time. It will sizzle, put the lid back on, and then or give it a little stir, and that'll be fine. Right. Next stage is we're gonna just continue basically cooking these down, because what we need is caramelized onion. We can put our salt in. Now, a word on salt. Be careful with this because you don't want to over salt. If you buy stock or use bouillon cubes, which I don't recommend, but it'll still work. It'll still be a French onion soup. It just won't be the best French onion soup. And yeah, those stocks that you buy, bouillon, whatever, they tend to have a lot of salt in them. So you want to be careful. I know that mine's okay, because I made it myself. I'm just going to put in half of that salt. So like that's half a teaspoon. Look at that. They're much more soft. Now, it almost looks like an omelette or something. Anyway, keep them spread out in the pan. Right, put the salt in. Also, to speed up this caramelization, a top tip is just a tiny bit of sugar. I've got 1/4 of a teaspoon of sugar here. If we're after browning, why not use brown sugar? Also, it's less refined, better for you, and all that jazz. Now, you could probably use honey instead. That would work as well. This stage, we just want to keep them moving. All right. Now, this can take anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes to get this caramelization. We're halfway there. It needs to be on a medium low, I'd say. I'll turn it down a little bit. We don't want to have burnt onions. If you get burnt onions, you'll have that bitter taste that will transfer into the soup. All right. All right, guys, it's been nigh on 20 minutes, I'd say. And look at this. These have transformed. They've sort of melted and becoming into a jam-like consistency almost. We've reached the point where that is good. So what I'm going to do here is we are going to, oh, I almost got it wrong there. I'm going to put the flour in. So this is 1.5 tablespoons of flour. Give that a really good stir. Now, I've just realized it would have been a good idea to actually sieve the flour to avoid any lumps. But oh well, it's gone in now. It's too late. You can't go back. So just try and smush the flour as much as possible if that happens. What's happening when you caramelize onions? It's doing what's called the Maillard reaction. And that happens all throughout cooking, whether it's on the crust of bread or when you brown meat. The sugars from inside the food come to the surface and they change and become even sweeter. So that's why you get this flavor and the caramelization, and that's why it goes dark. So we want to do that so that we get that nice rich flavor with these onions. Okay, don't want to overdo them at this stage. Be careful. Cook that down for no more than 2-3 minutes. Then we're going in with the white wine to deglaze the pan. And what that does, it picks up all the bits that have stuck to the pan and gets them back into that goodness. Okay, I'm going to turn it right down. In fact, I might even turn it off. Turn it off. Okay, could have done this before, but I'm going to put the stock on. On goes the heat, and that goes straight in there. Some people say you should take the fat off the top, but this didn't have very much. And also, fat is flavor. That is a fact. I had a cooking teacher back in college, and that was his expression. He said, "Le gras, c'est le goût." Fat is flavor. I mean, it works in French and English, doesn't it? GG or FF. Right, we're going to bring that up to the boil. All right, guys, the stock's boiling away. Look at that. Let's turn it right down. Okay, grab your ladle, and then we're going to put a bit of the stock into the pan, like that. Same as with the wine, we want to get all the way around that. Make sure nothing else is stuck to the pan. Right, and then all that goodness goes back into the stock. A little bit left over there. We don't want to miss anything. Really nice, good stir. And then the lid is going to go back on that. And that's going to cook for about 30 minutes. Now, why? Why is that going to cook for another half an hour? We've cooked the onions. We've boiled the stock. That's all cooked. What's not cooked? The flour that we put in is not yet fully cooked. Flour, when you add it to a gravy or a sauce or something like that, it actually takes 20 to 30 minutes to fully cook. If we had that right now, it wouldn't be properly thickened, and you would taste the uncooked flour on your tongue. And so that's why it's important to do that. Come to think of it, there could be a hack to speed up this process. And that is if you use a different kind of flour, because different flours cook at different temperatures. Corn flour, for example, is very quick and takes hardly any time to thicken up and cook. So that could be a hack. And also, that would make it gluten-free. Now, the purists might say, okay, you've changed the recipe, it doesn't taste the same. I'd argue, it's marginal. It's really marginal. It's not going to make a huge difference. If you are doing it gluten-free, however, it brings me on to my next step, because now we need to, while that's cooking away, we can prepare the rest of our ingredients. We're going to move on to the bread. Now, of course, there's no point in making that gluten-free if you're using bread. So You might want to use gluten-free bread if you were to do that, of course. Anyway, I am actually going to use this knife on the bread. So we've got to cut some thin slices of bread. Well, thin, I mean, it's up to you how thin you do it. Maybe not too thin. Okay, and then these are going to go onto, actually, before I do that, I'm going to put a bit of oil on the bottom. And a little bit of oil on top as well. And then we need to put these in the oven to do a crisp up and do what's called a crouton. So oven on at 180. I'm not sure how long for, just, you know, you just got to keep an eye on them. Give that a little stir. Right, so the second thing we can do is get our cheese ready. I've got a beautiful chunk of Gruyere here. I'm going to take off the rind. Have a taste. Nutty. The better quality cheese you get, the nicer. It's a bit like the stock. If you invest in those ingredients, get the best ones you can afford, that's the rule of thumb, then your end result is going to be better. And I'm going to do a bit of Parmesan as well, but not too much. Just needs to be a couple tablespoons. And then our final ingredient that we haven't yet used is our clove of garlic. This is probably optional, but it's the little stealth weapon that will just take this recipe to the top. So I find it's much easier to peel garlic if you cut it in half first. Okay, our croutons are done. Okay, let's put them onto our board. They need to cool down a little bit. This is the magic bit. So you get a piece of garlic and then we scrub the crispy bits of that toast with the garlic. What you're doing there is just transferring instant flavor onto this piece of toast. In fact, I'm very tempted just to munch it down right now, but I'm gonna hold myself back. The French call that frotter à l'ail. Funny expression, but really good. If you're making bruschetta or anything like that, people will say, oh, this tastes amazing. All right, I'll do the rest of those and then we'll on to the final stretch. Check this out, we're gonna taste the soup. Always check the seasoning before you serve to other people. Really good. It does actually need a bit more salt, so I'm going to put the rest of this salt in. Black pepper. Another taste. Oh, there it is. There it is. That's the base. Now we're gonna add this and it's gonna be woohoo! Okay, so into the bottom of the bowl go a couple croutons, depending on how big that is. Like that. Then you want a handful of cheese. Maybe a bit more cheese. Then in goes the soup. So a couple ladles in each bowl. I mean, these are pretty large bowls. So this should do for about 4 people, 3 to 4 people. This is probably a 2-person, that's maybe 1 person. If you were doing for a starter, maybe you wouldn't use as much. Right, then some more bread goes on top. basically you want to use all the croutons you can, like that, and then extra cheese. If your bowl has a lip like this, or if your dish has a lip, get that cheese right up onto that lip, because that will help when it goes in the oven. That will help the rest of this not to sink. So you want to avoid serving it in a bowl that has edges like that. Making a bit of a mess, getting that cheese everywhere. Right, bit of the Parmesan on top. Right, and then it's going to go into the oven. Now you whack that oven, either you can put it on grill or you whack it up high as it goes, and then you don't have to watch it quite as closely. But basically, everything's cooked. We just need to get this top squiggly bubbly and really nice and grilled. Oh guys, oh my word, gotta be really, really careful. Super hot. Oh, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna give it a minute. Oh, there you go, guys. You see, it's not complicated, but this, I mean, we talked about impressing people earlier. This is next level. I think it's just about okay. Just about okay. Ooh, if I can get a bit of bread and lots of cheese. Oh, check out those stringy cheese. I'm not joking when I say this is one of the most tastiest things I have ever made. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I really highly recommend that you go and make stock and make French onion soup, because this is up there. This is way up there. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe as always. You know the drill. Hit the bell button. I'll see you hopefully next week. Keep cooking, guys. So good.